In this video tutorial, I'm going to teach you about the law of common chord notes. When I started improvising as a young teenager, I didn't really know which notes to use with what chords. Okay, if I played a F with the C chord, it didn't necessarily sound good. Okay, if I played a A with the C chord, it didn't really sound good. Now, every piece of music is actually just playing a scale. I don't know if you realize that. It's just reordering the notes of the scale in a way so that it sounds tuneful. As you know, there are 8 notes in my scale. I'm going to play a very well-known little piece, and that is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Now I've used 6 notes of the C major scale in Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I've gone from the C up to the A, and I've come all the way down. Okay, there's the D major scale. And here's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. That just emphasizes the fact that any piece of music is based on your scale system. Okay, having established that fact, now we can take the 3 primary chords, which I've dealt with in previous tutorials, and we can now apply them to our scales. On every scale degree, you can build a chord. And you will hear that each chord has a particular quality. It's either a major or it's a minor. Then we dealt with our 3 primary chords, which is the 3 chords that you can build on the 1st degree of the scale, the 4th degree of the scale, and the 5th degree of the scale. And that was C, F, and G. But in order to play it comfortably and without jumping all over the keyboard all the time, we played them like this, which is my C chord, my F chord, and my G7 chord. Now, our main question is, when I'm playing a piece of music, what notes in a melody or a scale can I use with what chord? And this is what we call common chord notes. In other words, a note that is in common with the chord that you're playing. Okay, so you'll see at the top of the screen, I have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star written out in music notation. What I also did was I color-coded all the notes. So you can actually see in every bar what notes actually belong to which chords. The first bar, you'll see there's a C chord. The notes in the right hand is the C, C, G, G, which is the blue and the green. Below you have the C chord, you have the yellow in between, which is the E. Obviously the E isn't part of the melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. But now it gets a little bit more interesting when we look at the next bar. In the next bar we have the F chord and the C chord as well. And in the melody we have A, and then G. Notice I've written the G above the C chord because it's a chord note. It's a note that belongs to that chord. It sounds good. The same with the F chord and the A above the F chord. Those notes belong to the F chord, so they will sound good. If I'm playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star like we did earlier on, and I now add the chords in, let's see how this principle works. So I'm going to play. Now those 2 notes, the C and the G, what chord will that fit with in the C major scale? It's a C chord. Does that sound good? No, because there is not a note in common with this chord. So this means I'm going to have to change my chord to have a note in common. So I'm going to go to my F chord. Does that sound good? No. So I'm going to play my C. Okay, so that was just to show you the difference between chord notes and non-chord notes. Now let's start right at the beginning, and I'll show you what notes belong with which chords, according to the color coding. 2 notes in common with the C chord, A, which is in common with the F chord, G, which is in common with the C chord, F, which is in common with the F chord, which is in common with the C chord, and what note is going to be in common with what chord here? It's the G7. Now listen to this. If I include the D there, the sound is too strong. It actually takes away from the melody. Okay, so rather, I'm going to play the D here, play the G7 like that. So those are the notes in common with the G7 chord. And I'll land on the C again. The note in common would be the C with the C chord. If you enjoyed this video tutorial, click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future video tutorials.